Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And we will share the screen here. March 1. Very good. And in reading the screen, I realize I don't have my glasses on, so makes it easier to read the screen. And as expected, we were with Yoga Sutras. Chapter 1, Samadhi. Verse 47. Mastery in Nirvicara brings clarity of the inner self. So that's what we want, clarity of the inner self, being able to see it without distortion. Nirvicara is meditation free of reflection. Vaisharajya, lucidity or mastery, is likened to the clearness of the autumnal sky of North India, symbolizing the profound peace of mind that comes with Nirvicara meditation. Just as the autumnal sky represents a transition and a clearing of the clouds and storms of summer, Vaisharajya signifies a transition to a state of inner clarity and confidence in one's spiritual practice. We're talking about clarity here, and Gurudeva has one on clarity. Now, in the dawn of a new age, when many men are being drawn within, it is eminently easier to attain and maintain clarity of perception through the actinic light within the body. Through the classical yoga techniques, perfecting the conscious use of the actinic willpower, the energies can be drawn inward from the outer mind, and the awareness can bask in the actinic light, coming into the outer mind only at will and positively. Very nice statement, Gurudeva. Verse 48. In that state, mystical insight is truth-bearing. Okay, let's see what I have to comment on that. This knowledge is considered truth-bearing in that it discloses the contemplated object as it is, in a flash of insight without any mental distortions. And Gurudeva's quote is on that. Contemplation is a state rarely, if ever, attained by the average man. It need not concern us too much here, as it flows quite naturally out of successfully sustained meditation. There is nothing fearsome or dangerous about it, but it is an experience quite different from either our ordinary sense perceptions or reasoning processes. It is in the nature of direct cognition of something through identity or oneness with it. The aim, of course, is the realization of the self. Verse 49. Having a different focus in scripture and inference, these are ways of attaining knowledge through reading scripture or inferring something. If you see smoke, there must be fire, inference. It apprehends the distinct essence of things. Perceptive knowledge, mystical insight denoted by it in this sutra, is direct, unmediated by the kinds of learning derived from studying scriptures or from inference. It is therefore regarded as a purer, higher form of knowing. Note that the phrase mystical insight refers to the superconscious knowing that arises from Nirvicara Samadhi, continuing the train of thought from the two previous sutras. Mastery in Nirvicara brings clarity of the inner self. In that state, mystical insight is truth-bearing. This verse explains that such yogic insight differs in both subject and quality from scriptural knowledge, Shruta Prajna, and inference, Anumana Prajna, as it uniquely apprehends the object's essence in a direct and immediate way. Then we get Gurudeva's quote, which gives us an example. Here's a fine example of the use of intuition. You have often been in a situation in your own mind where you felt a subtle, direct impulse from deep within you as to how you should proceed. Most probably you denied it as fantasy, such as the conscious mind. You denied it as fantasy and commenced in a logical way to fulfill your impulses and desires from previous patterns of experience, only to find that you would have traversed agonies and confusions as you followed the subtle impulse of direction, which was rejected to enhance established patterns of procedure. But I might add that the first impulse must have registered itself as cold and clear, direct and profound. Only if it did would it have been indelibly imprinted itself. Only if it did would it have indelibly imprinted itself within your memory patterns, clear and sharp, thus distinguishing itself clearly from all warm emotional feelings that appear to be reasonable and totally in line with the current pictures of the day. So that's Gurudeva's way of distinguishing intuition from ordinary thought. Must have registered itself as cold and clear, direct and profound, not emotional and warm. So if you can figure that out, that's how you can tell the difference between if something is intuition or not. Because if you think something is intuition and you make an important decision on it and it wasn't, that's not good. You need to be very conservative about identifying something as intuition. Verse 50, this is interesting. The samskaras produced by that obstruct other samskaras. Sounds like something I might write. I always say words are expensive, so I tend to say something in too few words. So that's definitely using too few words. The samskaras produced by that obstruct other samskaras. So let's remind ourselves what samskaras are. Samskaras, the imprints left on the subconscious mind by experience. So the impressions left on the subconscious mind by experience serve to constantly propel consciousness into action. Through the practice of Nirvicara Samapatti, new samskaras are created through mystical insight, denoted by that, produced by superconscious experiences. These samskaras are more powerful than others and thus overwhelm and diminish impressions of lesser intensity. This process invigorates the flow of life and draws us inward rather than outward into external activities. So what does all of that mean? It means our memories, particularly recent ones, draw us into thought. Things we want to think about and even things we don't want to think about. Our recent memories draw us into thought. So we sit down to meditate, we're thinking about recent events. Our awareness is drawn to thinking about them. So those are strong external samskaras in our mind. And sometimes it can be distant events that we haven't resolved. So this is giving us new samskaras, superconscious samskaras, which lessen the influence of the externalizing ones. So it means the more insights we have from the superconscious, the easier it is to sit without the mind becoming externalized. That's what it's trying to say. Or in Gurudeva's words, as the title says here, we are reprogramming our subconscious mind, in this case through having intuition. The point I want to make is, do not fear the subconscious mind. Realize that it has not been programmed as it should be. Therefore, the program has to be changed. Realize that your superconscious is the master programmer. Get busy and reprogram your subconscious through the power of affirmation. You can do it through the powers of meditation. So that's different, but it's doing the same thing. We're using affirmations to reprogram the subconscious mind to make it more positive, make it more internal. So that's a really important verse. It's easy to relate to once you understand what it means. 51. When even this is restrained, the samskara to turn within, the entire mind is restrained, and seedless samadhi ensues. Here Patanjali describes a state of absorption without seed. Nir bija, right? Bija is seed, nir is without. Nir bija samadhi, a level of knowing in which even the subtlest of impressions, samskaras, cease. This profound absorption, transcending all forms of mental activity, leads to the cessation of all fluctuations in consciousness and results in pure objectless awareness. Nirvana Samadhi is achieved when not only active thought processes, but also the latent impressions that could give rise to future thoughts and actions cease or are completely inhibited. In this state, no seeds of future karma are planted, as there are no samskaras left to sprout into new cycles of thought, action, and reaction. Patanjali underscores a progression in the yogic journey from recognizing and attenuating, meaning to lessen, attenuating the influence of mental impressions, samskaras, to reaching a state of consciousness where these impressions are entirely dissolved. This progression ultimately culminates in liberation, known as kaivalya, which means aloneness. In monistic Saiva Siddhanta, the path continues beyond even this toward Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the direct realization of Parashiva, which lies beyond thought form and even awareness itself. This ultimate breakthrough lies beyond the scope of Nirbija Samadhi as described in the Yoga Sutra, for while Nirbija transcends all mental activity, it does not yet pierce the final veil, concealing the self's absolute nature. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the yogi becomes one with the self, Parashiva, if only for a timeless instant. I like that. Timeless instant. You can't say how long it was because there's no time in that realm, and is irrevocably transformed. Then we get a really long one from Gurudeva. The first breakthrough into samadhi happens quickly, so that the subtle parts of the mind, shall we say, are not consciously aware of what is actually taking place and what has actually happened, because they are not used to being consciously aware in the higher states of consciousness. However, when the renunciate has broken through to the self, Parashiva, he has the possibility of the full use of his mind, the higher states of consciousness, as well as the full understanding of lower states of consciousness, and how his individual awareness travels from one state to another. The mere fact he has broken through to samadhi means that he was able to justify experience enough in his subconscious mind so that his subconscious mind could fall into line into the habit pattern of pure concentration. When the conscious mind is in concentration upon one single thing, The subconscious mind is in concentration also, following the pattern of the conscious mind on one particular thing. Then that expands consciousness automatically into the superconscious state of mind, with the understanding of the functioning of the superconscious mind and not being diluted by any of the ramifications of the superconscious mind, meaning visions of various kinds. Often a renunciate has managed to go right into the very core and actually break through to the self. This is what has happened to him. Thank you, Gurudeva. And second topic, Pastor Siva. Don't need that slide, it shouldn't be there. What is the nature of our soul? How would you answer that question? You can say the soul has 3 parts or the soul has 2 parts, depending how you approach the answer, and then name them. Our soul is an immortal spiritual being. The essence of the soul is pure consciousness and absolute reality. So that's the essence. That's one part. The essence is perfect, eternal, and was never created. Visualize it as a light bulb covered by 5 layers of colored fabrics. These are our 5 bodies or sheaths. What are the 5 sheaths? Sheaths is a translation of the word kosha. So we have 5 sheaths, 5 koshas, and we have 4 bodies, shariras. 5 koshas, 4 bodies. So this is asking for the koshas, the 5 sheaths. Physical body is our outer body of flesh and bones, which we need to function in this earthly world. Obvious. Inside it is the pranic body, the sheath of energy or prana that flows through the physical body. Then we have the subtle or astral body. It is the sheath of ordinary thoughts, desires, and emotions. Next is the mental or intellectual layer. It functions on the higher mental plane. Finally, we have the body of the soul. This is the body that evolves from birth to birth, that reincarnates into new outer sheaths and does not die when the physical body perishes. I said before there was 4 karanas, there's only 3, excuse me. So this is the second part of the soul. We have the nucleus of the soul, the essence of the soul is one part, and the body of the soul is the other part. So if the soul doesn't have these koshas, it has a body and it has an essence. And the essence itself has 2 parts. Gurudeva described it like this. The body of the soul actually looks like a plastic body filled with light. You have seen mannequins with arms, legs, torso, and head made completely out of transparent neon-like plastic. If you were to put a light on such a mannequin, it would glow. This is what your soul body, your psyche, looks like. Nice to know what it looks like. Thank you, Gurudeva. Our soul body is neither male nor female and never dies. Within our subtle bodies, we have chakras, 21 in all, colorful spinning forces. So Gurudeva, we have 7 principal chakras. We know that, Muladhara through Sarasvara. We have 7 below that, which we sometimes talk about. And then we have 7 above the Sarasvara, which Gurudeva makes reference to only now and then. They're really, really subtle. 7 lower chakras, those of fear, anger, and the other lower instinctive impulses are located in the legs. 7 middle chakras are along the spine, and the highest 7, accessible only after self-realization, are above the head. We also have an aura radiating within and around us, whose colors change according to our thoughts and emotions. Once physical births have ceased, the soul body still continues to evolve in the heavenly worlds. We are not the physical body, mind, or emotions. We are the eternal soul, Atman, consisting of the radiant soul body and its essence, pure consciousness and absolute reality. That's a nice presentation, very tight. Okay, we have questions at Hindu.org. We can always use more questions. This is an interesting one. In Hinduism, how can we balance the belief that there is no wrong thing in this world and that everyone is going through the experiences they need to have in order to mature, with our duty as citizens to build a better society that is not complicit in actions that hurt others? Interesting question. How would you answer that? Hinduism does believe that everyone is doing what they should be doing. That's an interesting quote from Yoga Swami. Even the drunkard is necessary. To do the sort of thing he does in his drunkenness, he must necessarily get drunk. Is it an easy thing for anybody else to do that sort of thing? So, however, Hinduism also has its code of conduct, the yamas and niyamas. The first yama is not injury, not only physical, but also through words and even our thoughts. Individuals not following the code of conduct need to be corrected and encouraged in appropriate ways to practice nonviolence. So people that are being violent, we're supposed to be violent. That's what the first part of the answer said. Yes, that's it. They're going through a certain karma and they're going to act violently. But they're supposed to refine their conduct and move higher than that, move into more refined conduct, move out of that cycle of karma by following the yamas and niyamas. So we see people not perpetuating lower states of violence and other negative actions, but we want them to move up gradually. Over a period of lives, they move up in consciousness through following the yamas and niyamas. So society has to tell them about the yamas and niyamas. And if their behavior is really bad, then they go through the court system and the imprisonment system to find out about the yamas and niyamas. If it's not that bad, then hopefully parents and elders explain to them, we have to improve your behavior here. We're supposed to be nonviolent. Thank you very much. Oh.